Jimbo Paris, and you are listening to The Jimbo Paris Show. All right, so today we have Drew T. Jackson, founder of Leadership Development and Executive Coaching, and he has about 15 years of public speaking experience. So let's see what he has to say.
Hey, how's it going?
Great. How are you doing today?
Wonderful. It's a little warm here in Texas, but that's what pools are for, right?
Yeah. Which part of Texas are you from?
I'm in Fort Worth, so right outside Dallas.
Okay, nice. So, can you please begin by kind of telling me who you are, what you're about, what your message is?
Yeah, definitely. So, executive coach, leadership trainer, work with small businesses, 50 to 400 employees. And I'm really interested on the people side. I love helping people overcome challenges that they have, leadership challenges, communication challenges, mindset challenges around maybe how they view themselves and how that's limiting them in moving forward with confidence into leadership. So that's just a little bit about me, kind of as an intro. I'm also, well, let me say this, just celebrated 20 years of marriage, Jimbo. And super excited about that. My wife and I went on a big road trip on the East Coast, so that was great. And we have five kids and 3 dogs. So it's loud and crazy in our house.
Nice. And where did this all begin? Where did this passion start?
That's a great question. Really through a mentor. I was a pastor years ago, and working in churches, I had a mentor in the church kind of exposed me to leadership training, leadership development books. And I started to read them. And then I just started to get this, I like to say I became like a personal growth junkie, right? And I just loved reading this material, bettering myself, growing. And that continued and until the point where I got certified as a coach and a trainer, and decided to go a little different route vocationally and say, hey, I've had this experience with helping people, developing people in the nonprofit world, but that's kind of one vein. And I feel like I could really expand my horizons, help more people if I change channels and move into the business world and use my skill sets there and help people out. And so that's really where the origins came from.
And when you began to do this, what was the first step?
The first step, what do you mean by the first step in starting a business or getting developing as a developing myself? What exactly do you mean by that?
So when you discovered this passion in life, and you kind of realized that you wanted to dive more into the for-profit world, what was the first step in all of that?
That's good. Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. The first step, man, getting the word out, right? You got to let people know that you're in business and you're going out and you're starting that thing. I mean, obviously there's the technical side of getting your bank account and all that kind of stuff, but really it's letting friends and family know, hey, I'm making this transition into the for-profit world. So if you're a business owner, I'd love to help you. I've got some classes going. And that's really how I started. Part of the reason why I made that transition was I was leading a church in Santa Barbara, California. And to build that church, I was going to the Chamber of Commerce, right? Many of us in business are familiar with that. I was going to the local chamber, and I would find business people, bank presidents, different folks come up to me, and they kind of come in close and look around to see if anybody's listening, because I was the pastor in the group, and they're like, hey, man, I would send out a weekly email. They'd say, I really like your email and what you're sending out. And I said, that's great, fantastic. Why don't you come to a service on Sunday? and they'd go, oh no, I'm not really the church type of person. And so that continued for a few years. I kept thinking about that, and I thought, wow, I really have an opportunity with business folks. They like me. They like, how I present things, how I say things, but they're not interested in this arena, right? In the religious and the church arena. But I can really help a lot of people with what I have to share. And so that was kind of the origin. And I think it's always good to, before you step into something new like that, to determine if you've had any success in the past in that area. If your message has resonated, kind of test it out before you jump all in with a particular thing. But that's kind of the origins of it for me, of where it started and how I jumped into it.
All right. And what was your first client per se when you started to do this?
Yeah. So when I started, I did more of a group training, so individuals, and it was really friends and family. People that I was connected with on Facebook or LinkedIn or anything like that. And if they were a business owner, I reached out to them. I said, hey, I'm doing this leadership training, and it's going to be a bunch of individuals coming to this thing. But there's going to be about 10, 12 people in there. And so I had construction, contractors. I had a guy with a microchip company, and he sent one of his leaders to the training. I had other construction. I had a few different construction people that came to that meeting. I had some people from a nonprofit that came to the meeting, and it was this random group of people. But that got me started, and I thought, okay, if I can fill this group, then I can keep going. I got some money to move forward and repeat the process. And out of that, then I began to build more relationships with other organizations, mortgage companies, like you listed in your information. Chick-fil-A eventually, a few years later, came along. I was able to make some connections there, gain some success there, and then multiply that with other Chick-fil-A's. And really just, you make connections, right? You make connections along the way and begin to develop those relationships, and things open up. I think it's about being consistent in going out there every day, going out to market, building those relationships, connecting with people. And that's kind of how it's grown for me.
So I'm hearing a lot that you value networking, kind of building connections. Why is networking so important?
Well, we've all heard the cliche, right? Your network is your net worth, right? And who you know is what it's all about. I think a big part, when people think about networking, I think too often I've been at events, and I got some cards on my desk here, but we've all seen the guy or the gal that you're in these small little huddles at a networking event, and there's the person that walks up and they just go, hey Jimbo, my name's Drew, nice to meet you, shake your hand and give you a card, right? And then they do that to every single person. They walk away and they do that to the next group of people, and they just repeat that over and over again. That is not networking, right? That's not what it means to network. That's just creating garbage for the landfills, because I don't know you. I didn't have a memorable experience with you. I didn't connect with you in any way. And so I have no idea what you're about, except you sell insurance, or you have a leadership company. You're a coach. Great. What kind? Who do you talk to? Do I even like you? Do I like your personality? So what I try to encourage people when it comes to networking is, when I think of networking, I think of creating synergy between people that I know. So if I meet you, I have a conversation with you, and I find out that you have an IT company, but and this is someone I know, but it's called Blue Jeans Network, because you know what? You did the corporate thing for a long time, and you don't want to be the corporate IT company. You like to wear blue jeans, and all your people are going to be a little more laid back. They're going to wear blue jeans. They're just as sharp as everybody else, but they just have a little more laid back approach. Okay, great. I've got this IT guy that has that. Well, now in the process of time, I realized, hey, my friend was just talking about moving offices and they've got all those challenges. Let me make a connection. Let me say, hey, my buddy owns this company. I know you've got this new challenge that you're facing with getting your network set up in your new building. Bam, let's connect you and make sure that everything's taken care of. That's what I think networking is. It's really connecting people and trying to create synergy for them. And eventually they go, wow, Drew's really helped me out. How can I reciprocate? How can I do that for him and return the favor?
You know, you raise an extremely interesting point, because what you're basically saying is a lot of people have the wrong perception of sort of what networking is. It's not about getting your name out there to as many people as possible. It's about building that connection.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the best way I've heard it said is networking is farming, not hunting. Right. So people go to a networking event and they're like, I'm going to shoot me a new client today. Right. I'm going to grab them. I'm going to drag them out. And I got some business. And maybe shooting them wasn't the right term, but you know what I'm saying, right? It's capturing. They think that if I go to this networking event, I'm going to capture business right there in that moment. And that is rare if it ever happens that way. What usually happens is you build a relationship, you plant some seeds, and then that's how I got Chick-fil-A. It was 2 years of consistent networking, right? Going, building relationships, serving, participating, adding value to others. And then someone says, hey, I kind of like how you present yourself. Let's have a conversation. We build a relationship. We get success with that client. And then you ask them, hey, do you know anybody else that needs this? And now, right, it just extends the farming analogy of now you're planting more seeds and they're more than happy to refer you because you've added value to them and helped them gain success.
And how did you exactly build these connections and these relationships and add value in your own personal career?
So from a networking perspective, for me, adding value is really just thinking, how can I solve problems and make connections that would have synergy? So my thought process with that is, if I'm the person that others look to when they have a problem, one day they're going to have a problem that my business was created to solve, and I'll be the first person they think of. So that's kind of how I view things. And I'm always thinking, who's somebody else that I know that would be great for Jimbo's podcast, right? For Jimbo's show. The Jimbo Pair Show. Who is a good person that would be a great interview? It would benefit you. It would fit in alignment with that. And then it would also benefit the person that I know. And so that's just how I view things. It's kind of an ongoing lens of how I view the world. And I try to do that all the time. I try to have an abundance mindset where I have a group of friends locally in the Dallas-Fort Worth area that as soon as I do a more local speaking event, podcast, whatever the case is, I immediately tell them, hey, I've got 3, 4, 5 people that are in my same lane, right? They're coaches. They have obviously their own slant on things. They might be into, transformational coaching, transition. They might be into different generations in the workplace. How do you have all the different generations work in the workplace? But I always recommend them and put them out there. I'm not afraid of putting other people out there so that they too can have success, because I think in the end, there's plenty for all of us and we can all win. So I think those, kind of things, those mindsets are what adds value to others and enables me to solve problems. Now, on a very practical level, as far as my business is concerned, how do I add value? It's about solving problems, right? Figuring out what does success look like for my clients, and then figuring out a way to get there. How do we get? Do you want to increase revenues? How do we get there? Do you want to cut down on turnover? How do we get there? Do you want your employees to be happy at work and not resign and do well? How do we get there? And so that's how I add value to my clients. And that's what they pay me for, right? Is to get results for them.
And you were mentioning a lot, how do we get there? How do we get there? And I keep on seeing that sign behind you that says leverage creativity. So
Yeah.
how do you kind of leverage that creative ability of yours to answer that how?
Yeah, it's challenging sometimes, right? Because there are different challenges that come your way. But something I'm working on with a client that we've done the last few years is working with small businesses. They don't have a full HR department and all those types of things. And so the CEO of this practice came to me and said, "Man, we love what you're doing with training. A problem we have, though, we really want to measure the satisfaction of our employees." And I just so happened I was getting my MBA at that time, and I was reading through, taking some courses on measuring job satisfaction. And so I said, okay, I've got to figure out how I can take this and go ahead and use it to help out my client. And I put together from the materials that I had, we put together a job satisfaction survey, and we've used that to measure the satisfaction of their employees year over year for the past 3 years. And so that's one of the ways that I go, okay, how can I creatively solve their problem? Another one is, all of us had to do this, but during the pandemic, before the pandemic, I was super heavy on training, lighter on coaching. And all my stuff was in person, almost exclusively. Well, when the pandemic hits, you've got to switch over. All of us had to do that. Well, what about the companies that made a decision that we're pretty much going to be, moving forward exclusively remote? And at the same time, our team members have Zoom fatigue, right? They're tired of doing meetings in Zoom, and the training is just one more meeting. So how do we leverage creativity to engage the team? And so had to really rack my brain on, how do I do this? What kind of activities? How do we get more interaction between individuals instead of just a talking head, me sitting here talking at people on how they can communicate better, work better as a team? So really solving those problems and trying to think outside the box, doing some things that put people in a little more vulnerable state. I'll just give you an example, Jimbo. One of the things I did with a client, and I've done in person, but we did it in Zoom, was words of affirmation is what I've called it. Or another way you could say it is words of appreciation. And really what it is you have a team, let's say, of 20 people in your office. You sit everybody down and you say, okay, what we're going to do is everybody at some point during our time today is going to sit in the hot seat. And what that means is that you're going to have 2 to 3 fellow employees share something that they appreciate about you. And then we'll move to the next person. And I'm telling you, the business interactions, we do this thing, we did it on Zoom, and you've got people crying because they hear that a coworker thinks that they're just amazing at their job, or they always come in with a great attitude and it lifts them and makes them have a better attitude. Or every time I talk to you, it just makes my day. Whatever the case is, they're giving you're so good at your job and you always find the details, all this kind of stuff. And I'm telling you, you've got these tough leaders that are crying because they're just so amazed of what their fellow team members think of them. So that's a creative way that I'm telling you, it makes you feel vulnerable, right? Because I'm sitting here like, what if they all say that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard? This is a work environment. I'm not going to do that. I might do that with my family, but I'm not going to do that at work. And you kind of put yourself out there and take that risk, but high risk, high reward, right? That's kind of the name of the game. And those are some of the things where I think when you get people in those places of vulnerability, that's where the bonding takes place and people really connect with one another.
Mm-hmm.
That's all leveraging creativity.
Nice. And I'm thinking here, is this the same strategy, this sort of hot seat approach? Is this the same strategy you used for Chick-fil-A in that, employee retention training for those franchises too?
Yeah. So with that, I do a lot of coaching with the Chick-fil-A's, but it's a modified coaching. It's not a pure coaching. So I don't know how familiar you are with coaching, Jimbo, but the concept behind coaching is really the answer is within. So, it's kind of arrogant of me to tell you how to get better at your job is the mindset of a coach. So what a coach does is they ask questions to pull out of that reservoir of experience that you have, and for you to have those aha moments, those light bulb moments where you go, oh my goodness, yes, I can apply this experience I had 10 years ago to the situation I'm facing right now. So that's pure coaching. Well, what I found just in conversation is some of these Chick-fil-A operators, these business owners, they had been exposed to peer coaching and their young leaders had shut down. Well, why is that? Well, if you think about it, if you have limited experience and we're going to spend an hour and I'm going to ask you questions about your experience, at some point you're going to hit a wall, right? You're like, I don't know. I've never done this before, right? I've never experienced this. I don't have anything to draw upon. So with leveraging creativity with that group, I determined, you know what, I can't be a pure coach. What I need to be is a coach / mentor. And when they say, when we get to the point where I've asked them questions and they go, Drew, I just don't know. Do you have a tip? Do you have a way that I can communicate? Do you have a way that I can have this tough conversation with my boss, with a coworker, with a person that I lead? I'd say, yes, I do. And let me help you out with that. And then I'd give them a little tip. And that's actually what part of where my book came from is with that mentoring approach and recognizing that so often people are promoted to leadership roles because they were a great individual contributor, right? They did a great job at their job. So it's like, well, man, if you're really good at selling, air conditioning units, then we'll make you the manager of all the sales team. And they're like, okay, awesome. Like I can make more money and all this kind of stuff. And it's a promotion, but then they get in there and they realize, I don't know how to lead people. I don't know how to have these conversations with an employee. I know how to sell things. And so in that process, that's why I wrote the Executive Leaders Handbook, so that people can have a reference guide when they're like, how do I have that tough conversation with a team member? How do I lead a meeting, right? I've had sales conversations, but how do I actually lead a meeting? Because my team, they just want to sit on their computer or look at their phone or whatever the case is. They're not engaged. How do I do that? And so I wanted to take about 25 lessons that I've used to help my clients and say, hey, here, I really wrote it for my clients, right? Here's a leave behind. When we're no longer working together, I want you to have this so that you can reference it. And I was actually just meeting with a client this week, and it's funny. She was talking to me about, oh my goodness, Drew, your book. I have it in my car. I take it with me everywhere I go. She's a super fan. Okay, I'll call it what it is. This isn't everybody, Jimbo. This is a super fan, right? But she's like, I take it with everywhere I go. I have a problem and I read it and I think about it. Even my kids are like, you're always reading that book. You always have that in front of you. What's going on? And I told her, I said, well, like anything in life, right? You get out what you put into it. And all it is very plain spoken, practical things that have worked for me. And then they've also worked for others. And if you put it into practice, it'll work for you. And I commended her because she put in the work, right? I can't take credit for that. She wants to thank me, but she's the one that took the information, synthesized it for her situation, and then made the bold move of actually having the conversations and putting into practice the principles. And that's how I became a leader, Jimbo. I would not call myself a natural born leader. I'm not the person that just woke up and, from the time I was born, it was like I could direct people and I had this following and everybody looked to me for leadership. That was not the case. I just began to read these books. Like I said earlier, with kind of the origin of my leadership, I'd read these books, and I was just so simple enough and so desperate enough maybe to get some results that I started putting it into practice, what I was reading, and I'd go, wow, this actually worked. I'm going to try it again. I'm going to try this thing again. And I just repeat that over and over again. And then you get to the point where you write a book of your own. But yeah, so that's I don't know what question you asked. I don't even remember, but maybe leveraging creativity with Chick-fil-A. That's kind of the process and how it worked for me.
And what I like even more is that you went above and beyond to go in depth on the idea that the problem is that most of these big corporations, they promote people based on their skills, but not necessarily on their skills of leadership. And you're there to help them as a coach with those leadership skills. So that really shows the basis of what you do in that specific area.
Yeah.
Mm.
Let me say this too. It's very interesting. I've had people that have come through my training programs that are 50 years old, in a C-suite position, in a little bit large, still a small to mid-sized business, but small to mid-sized professionals. I'm talking professional services industry, never been in a leadership class in their life. And you're like, whoa, you are at that level of leadership in an organization, and you've never been in a leadership course, or even if I understood this person right, hadn't read a leadership book up until that point, was all doing it by feel. Obviously very successful, but think about how you can multiply that success if we borrow ideas from other people who have gone before us, right? And we say, hey, let me take that information, let me take those tips and put them into practice. And then that thing just starts snowballing. So it's very interesting that that some organizations just they don't put their team through it, and it's really a disservice if the person hasn't been exposed to that kind of training, and it's a disservice to the organization. I believe if you build the people, it'll build the business. If you invest in the people, it'll build the business. If you grow them, it'll grow the business. And so yeah, it is fascinating that organizations don't put a priority on it in that way.
And we're going to get a little bit more into your public speaking as well. But before that, when it comes to picking clients, who would you consider to be your ideal client? And who would you consider to be a client that you would not want to work with?
So the ideal client would, my favorite people, and where I get the most thrill from, is when I have super high level, high achieving, business savvy, smart people that are a-holes, right? They're jerks. They're like getting really great results from the business side. They understand business, but they're just running over their team. They're running through people at a high rate because of how they talk to them, how they treat them. And I've found I get the most satisfaction and gratification out of helping those people learn the communication skills, the leadership soft skills, the people side of business, so that they can exponentially increase their results. So that's an ideal client as far as an executive coaching client is those types of folks. And I found tremendous success. I think what's fun about it is, I can be very direct with them, and that's kind of the language they speak. And so I can do that. And then the other side of it is these same people that just, they have this like hardened exterior. They almost seem like they're just the meanest people in the world. When I get in that coaching relationship with them and get in the coaching session with them, many times they cry like babies, right? Because they feel misunderstood. Like that's not their heart intention to make people feel that way. They just have such a high standard of excellence for themselves that they require and mandate that of others. And how that comes out is in a harsh, aggressive way. And so it's about changing how they interact with the different people on their team and helping them be more successful in that way. So I love working in an executive coaching relationship with folks like that. People I don't like to work with are super scatterbrained folks that don't want to put in the work. I mean, one of my first coaching clients, because here's the deal, they don't get the results, and then they're frustrated with you. I've learned how to navigate that relationship better now and call out people with their scattered brain nature. But there are some people out there that they'll just talk and talk and talk. They'll spend a whole hour just talking about problems, and not even giving me a chance to ask them questions so we can kind of dive deep on a particular problem, figure out what are their options to potentially solve this problem, and then asking them about, hey, what are you going to do? What are you going to take action on so that we can get a result, and then come back next week, next month, and determine that result. Did that work or did that not work? And we can repeat the process. But yeah, scatterbrained folks that really aren't interested in taking action. They're more interested in having a person that they can just kind of dump on all their, this is going on in my life. And I'm not interested in that. And I can kind of see it. And I just go, hey, maybe this isn't the right setup for us.
Right. Those types of people may need something more like an emotional therapist, and that's not you. You work with doers.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It might be that. Yeah, and it might be. I mean, really, if I'm going to, I think probably just more discipline and focus, an emphasis, maybe a course on discipline and focus would be the first step to help with that. And it might just be, adult ADD or something, adult ADHD, and their brain is going in so many directions that there needs something to kind of calm that down so that they can get focused. And that might be some of it. I don't know though. But yes, you're right, Jimbo. It's not me. I'm not the person that can help them with that.
Right. And I think that's another impressive thing. You know your value in that specific market and your clients.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just saying, you know your value, and you know the specific type of clients that you can work with. And I noticed you're looking at different types of personalities to kind of figure out what type of person is best to work with me. And what made you so good at sort of reading people very quickly? Was it your experience as a pastor?
I think that's some of it. But I can even remember back to being in high school. And I remember specifically being at a party, like a social gathering, and sitting next to my friend who also is highly relational, very, very intuitive in that way. And we were just having a conversation about reading, like every person coming in the room. I think we were near the door, so we could kind of see as people were walking in, but we weren't like right there where they saw us. And so we were sitting back and we were just reading everybody who walked in the room, like, oh man, they're pissed off about something, or hey, that couple got in a fight before they walked in the room, which is just crazy because I have a 17-year-old. My oldest is 17. And to think that as a 16-year-old, 17-year-old, I was reading people in that way, but it was just something that came more naturally to me. It was more intuitive. And then absolutely, I think, being a pastor, you're in the people business, and you're asking people to do things that you're not paying them to do it, right? So they have to volunteer. So there has to be this big why. You have to really figure out what's in it for them. What's in it for the person that I'm asking? How can they benefit? And the benefit could be that they love to help out, right? And so you're like, hey, I know you really love to help out people in this group or people that have these needs. And so I wanted to make that connection. But that's definitely where I naturally and more intuitively excel, is in that communication side, human behavior, personality profile side of things. And that's really what I leverage in any kind of teaching that I give. That's where I can help people the most, which is probably why I love working with the people that are high level, getting a lot of business done, but they're pretty ignorant on the people side, is because I can just come in and help them just with that piece of it and do it. It just comes so easily to me. I can spot the problems, and then they're really great at what they do. And it just adds another tool in their tool belt.
Excellent. And where did you cultivate where did you build that trust between them? How do these people know that you were there for them?
Yeah. Well, trust, that's a very interesting question. Trust for me, and as you can see behind me, cultivate trust. I think it's an ongoing thing that you seek to do with people. But for me personally, it is something, I think my parents told me a long time ago, that part of the meaning of my name, Drew, is trustworthy. And that resonated with me. And I thought, I want to embody that. Like, I want to be a person that others feel like they can trust. So what does that mean? That means that I don't gossip about people, right? I don't put other people's business out there in my personal life or in my professional life. And I think people can sense that when they get in the room with you. I tell them, because I have organizations, business owners, CEOs, COOs, that they hire me and they're like, I want you to work with my team. And I tell that business owner, CEO, COO, I say, look, I'm more than happy to work with the team. I'd love to work with the team. You are the client in the sense that you're paying me, but they are the client in the sense that they have the coaching confidentiality agreement, meaning I'm not going to report back to you what they're saying to me in our coaching session. That's private, and that is just for them. And sometimes that in that coaching relationship that their boss is paying for, we're coaching around their exit strategy out of that organization, because that individual that I'm coaching discovers through the coaching process that they're in the wrong organization, or they want to go start their own business, or they need to be doing something else. And I go, okay, that's fine. Let's help you do that. And here's what I found. I'm upfront with that with my clients, the clients that are paying me. I tell them, look, you're having me coach your team. My dream is to help them live theirs, right? My dream is to help you as the business owner live yours. But then as the individual, I want to help them live their dream as well. And so I always ask them what their dream is, because that helps me with motivation as we go through the process. But I tell these business owners that are paying me, I say, I'm going to coach your leadership team. And there might be some people that in the process of coaching decide that they're not supposed to be in your organization anymore. And I'm going to help them figure out what their options are and what their action steps should be. I'm going to ask them questions, and they're going to determine those, and then they're going to move on. But here's how it benefits you, the business owner. What I have found is the people that are most frustrated in an organization, the people that are causing the most problems, that are fighting you as the business owner in the direction you want to go, those people are frustrated because they know they need to make a change in their life, but they either don't know how to make that change, when to make that change, or what exactly that change is. So what do? They just show up to work every day frustrated. And then when you say, hey, we're changing things around, we need you to do this now, they go, great, awesome, just what I wanted to do, right? And they're always fighting against you. It's because, not because you're doing anything wrong as the business owner, but because they're frustrated. And every time that has happened, the comment I get back from the business owner or the CEO is, wow, that was an addition by subtraction. When that person, we went down one leader on our team, but the morale of the organization went up 2, 3, 4 levels with that person moving on. Not because that person's a bad person, but because they were in a wrong place and they were frustrated, and it was time for them to move on. So all that cultivates trust, because I'm being very transparent and upfront with the business owner on how I'm going to interact with their team if they hire me. And then the team member, the leader, knows that we have strict confidentiality. And when they tell me kind of their deep, dark secrets, and a month goes by, 2 months goes by, and it doesn't get back to anybody in their organization, they're like, okay, I can trust this guy, right? This guy is not going to go put my stuff on blast. He really is going to keep it between us. And so that's how I cultivated trust. And that's really why it's so important to me as a person, because I just believe that that's a deep value that I have in every relationship that I have.
I really like that perspective, because in a way you do what's best for the situation as a coach. You don't try and manipulate the situation to work a certain way because the boss hired you, which I like. And so you also have an influencer trainer YouTube channel. So you're a content creator as well. How do you incorporate that?
Yeah, well, I was a pastor for many years, right? So every week I had to stand up and give a 30-minute talk, and it had to be fresh material every week. So I had developed over time that arm, so to speak, of creating content, sharing that content on a regular basis. And so one of the things I want to do is really help people understand how they can excel in an organization. I think it's always good for us to reflect on our own experiences. And for myself, I noticed that I went through 4 real career changes in my life. And in each one of those, not very long, but within 4 years, in every organization that I was a part of, I was able to move my way up into leadership roles or positions of influence where I was recognized as someone who excelled within the organization or within the trade group or whatever the case is. And so I thought, man, I need to help people, because other people don't know how to do this. They don't know how to move up, not in a manipulative way, not in a cut other people down so I can look better way, but how do I present myself? How do I use the skills of influence to move up in an organization, in the workplace specifically? And so that's really where that came from, and just part of getting my message out, right? As a business owner, when I started my business, and I had no idea what I was doing. I'm just going live all the time, and like with my phone, and like 3, 4, 5 times a week. That was before shorts, and I kind of was random in my approach. But just getting more and more clear on the leadership side of things, focusing in on really how I can help people in that area of leadership. And John Maxwell says leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. That's really where I wanted to help people, and the communication side, the human behavior side, that all came together. And that's where the channel came from. And it's fun. It's a great experience. I love adding value in that way. And it's a great way, just from a business perspective, to many times when I talk to people and they say, hey, I'd like to get a feel for kind of your style or how you do things. I can say, great, I got 300 videos on my YouTube channel. Here's the link, and if you have a particular topic, I can give you a link for that. But there's a plethora of material there where you can kind of get a feel for me. And I worked at Costco, and Costco always gives out the samples. So I'm a big believer in try before you buy, right? So you can try my material, you can try my content before you have to buy it.
Excellent. And yeah, that's really interesting. So let's take a quick look at your website now. I'm very interested to see it. Is it sort of, what do you usually use this website for? Is it sort of like the influencer trainer channel where you use it to kind of put up your try before you buy approach before you get people deep into what you do? How do you use that?
My personal, my drewtjackson.com website. Yeah. I probably don't use it as well as I should, Jimbo. Yeah, I send people there, and they can, it has all my contact information there. It does have information about the YouTube channel, about my book, and everything like that. But are you pulling it up?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, I've got some content there where people can see videos that we've done with sales tips. That's primarily where, if you want to find anything out about me, you can do it there. References, companies that I've worked with before under the About page. You can kind of find out who I've worked with and maybe some videos from them on their experience working with me. So I do think it's a great placeholder, stopping point for people to check in and kind of find out about me. I'm not winning the SEO game by any stretch of the imagination, Jimbo, but I can send people there, and they can definitely get a feel for me, and then contact me based on what they see there.
Mm-hmm. And you also have a blog as well. What do you use the blog for?
Once again, just the content, right? So I'll take a lot of the blog is the information that the content that I've done for YouTube videos, and I'll get it transcribed. So I'm kind of that way. I tend to free flow my video content, and then on the back end, go back, have it transcribed, have someone clean it up, and then post it in a blog post. So there's kind of the Gary Vee approach of using your content in multiple different ways.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. And this is sort of the main things you have on your website that you usually like to show?
Yeah, definitely. Then I've got some services on there just around training and coaching opportunities. I said before, under coaching, my big thing is, my dream is to help you live yours. I mean, that's for my business, but that's for me too. I believe I was put on planet Earth to help people discover their dream. Obviously, if you want to be an engineer, I can't help you become a better engineer, but what I can do is help you clarify and define what it is your coaching, or excuse me, your dream is. And then if I have some connections or some people that I know, I can help them. So under that strategic career coaching program portion right there, I've got a video that people can watch with like a 15 or 18 page worksheet they can download. And it's totally free. I don't ask for email address or anything. When it's really just why you believe you're here on planet Earth, I want to try to make it as easy as possible for you to do that with nothing asked in return from me. And so I've got a great, 30, 45 minute training on there with a handout that people can fill out, and they can really ask the questions, the coaching questions of, hey, what have I been good at in the past? Where have I excelled? What do I like doing? What am I passionate about? And where do all those things kind of converge with my skill sets? And how can I put that into practice and really kind of define what my dream moving forward is? And that's where I find people get clarity on that topic. And And so, yeah, that's what I'm excited about. Probably the most on my website is helping people discover their dream.
Excellent, excellent. And you also are announcing up there your Executive Leaders Handbook. And that handbook that you created, was this meant to kind of help to supplement or add to your coaching?
Yeah, absolutely. So created the handbook to as a leave behind. Originally, it was a leave behind for my clients to say, hey, here's everything that we've talked about and maybe some lessons we haven't talked about, but I want you to have this so that when we're done with our engagement, you still have something you can refer back to that'll help you over the years. And then also as a marketing piece, right? Where people can say, hey, can this guy add value to me? So obviously you can buy the book on Amazon, you can get it and it says it there, but you can also get it for free on my website or at the executiveleadershandbook.com. You can download one of two ways. You can get the PDF version or you can get the audio version, me reading the book to you. Either one of them absolutely free. And I want to get the word out there. I want to help people that are interested in growing that way. And that's a way that I can do that. And then we can begin a relationship, right? I get your information and we see if there's a fit there. This is something that you need help with, something that you could use in your current role or a role that you're looking for.
Excellent. Okay. Wow. Well, this looks like an amazing website. Thank you for showing it.
Thank you.
Yeah. So to kind of push this in an ending off way, what's the future?
That's a good question. What is the future? Well, the future is I really want to work more on, from a coaching perspective, really niche down into helping those folks I was talking about earlier, high capacity, high result jerks that the business owner, the CEO, the board wants to keep, but if they keep bleeding people out, they aren't going to be able to do that. And so I want to do more and more of that, have more content around helping people overcome those challenges and coaching around that. So, there's always the tension in business. There's the business results and then there's the people results. And each one of us, like I told you, I always, from a young age, was in that intuitive people side of things. I got people. I could read people. If they kind of looked down when they came into the office, I recognized it and was kind of sensitive to it. But we have to have both. So you have to have the business side and the ability to do strategic planning, to solve business problems while also having the people side of things. And so the future is really probably niching down in that and making sure that I'm able to help people do that more and more. So that's what I'm excited about. On a side note, I'll kind of drop this here. I really haven't told anybody outside of my family, but on that 20-year anniversary trip that my wife and I had, I came up with this great idea. I'm joking. It was her idea. An idea of doing a marriage YouTube channel. And, we've been married 20 years and we're not saying that what we've done will work for you, but it's just what has worked for us. And so sharing some tips, tricks, techniques on what we've done, being raw and real in the sense of some of the challenges and arguments that we've had on the different topics. And on a personal level, I'm so excited about that. I went to a YouTube conference a couple of weeks ago, and I don't know if your listeners or yourself are familiar with Patrick Bet-David, and he's got a channel called Valuetainment. And when he took the stage, he showed a picture of his grandfather, and he said, I never met my grandfather. He had passed away before I was even born. And he just asked the question. He said, man, what would you pay for a family member that you never got to meet, you never got to talk to? What would you pay to have a conversation with them? What would you pay to learn some wisdom from your grandfather? They can share their story, their insights. And then he brought it home and he said, if you only start a YouTube channel for that purpose, so that you can take the wisdom, the insights, whatever it is you're good at. Like we've been married 20 years. We're pretty good at it. We're happily married. Like we're not just in it ball and chain, but we went on a 11-day road trip together, and I could have gone another 11 days, right? Except for the beds. I like my own bed. But the conversation, the time, the engagement, the fun that we had together, I could do for another 11 days. And I thought, I want my kids to have those lessons that they can look back on. I want my grandkids, great grandkids, whether I meet them or not, I want them to say, hey, I heard that, great grandma and grandpa were pretty good at marriage. Why don't I listen to some of their YouTube videos and see what I can learn from that and connect with them in that way? I think so often when we lose a loved one, one of the things we miss the most is hearing their voice. And so, Jimbo, the people that love you for years and years to come, they get to see you. They get to hear your voice because you were disciplined enough to say, hey, I'm going to start this channel. I'm going to start this show and do what I do well. And other people are going to benefit. But even on a very small level, the people that matter to you most are going to have that archive of content that they can look back on. So on multiple levels, I'm highly motivated to do this and have the experiment of talking about these tough subjects with my wife and kind of just seeing what comes out. So that's the future for us. I'm excited about both of those things. And I think there's so much to be grateful for in the world that we live in, so much to be look forward to. And so that's what I'm trying to do.
All right. Well, that sounds great. I like how everything sounds there. I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Jimbo. I really appreciate it. Thank you for interviewing me and taking the time to do this.
It was my privilege as well. So to get a bit into this now to end this off, before we end this off, can you do you have any final last words you'd like to say to the audience?
I would probably say we've talked about business, we've talked about work, we've talked about your dream. And a lot of people did this during the pandemic, but if you don't like your job, if you hate your job situation, then quit, right? Life's too short. There's really, whenever you're in a conflict like that, you really have three options. You can address the problem, have a conversation with the person that you're having conflict with, change the department you work in, whatever the case is. You can get over it, or you can quit. And that's what I tell my coaching clients all the time. It's so simple, but you always have three options. And what I like about telling people that they have those options is that they recognize that they have control over their situation. So whoever's listening, whoever this is for, I want you to know you have control over your situation. You have those three options that you can make in the work environment. Address the problem, get over it. Just say, I'm not going to let it bother me anymore, or quit, move on, find a new opportunity. And because life's too short, live your dream, do what you love, and that's what I would say in parting thoughts to your listeners.
Great. Okay. I love this interview. I hope you liked it too, audience. So, all right. So just to kind of quickly end this off, I would like to give a special thanks to our sponsors, Kemiana Jones Bay and Jones Bay. They're both actually in real estate and in salon shop work, and they're focused on building and growing new entrepreneurs and helping you make those six figures. Next person we have is LifeWork Systems. They basically are a collaborative group run by Judy Ryan, and they're kind of looking at growing businesses, helping with employee relationships, those sorts of things. And also, we have a YouTube channel, so subscribe to us. Look at us. This will be on our YouTube channel, and we additionally have a Roku TV channel. So this will be on Roku TV as well as all the other episodes. So stay tuned for that as well. All
Sounds
right.
great.
So this is Jimbo. This is the Jimbo Paris Show. Thanks again, Drew. All right, that's the show.
Awesome.
Thank you for listening to the Jimbo Paris Show.